What is the message of Fatima for John Paul II? It's also a school. So beautiful. The two popes use the same word. How many of you want to go to heaven? This is an honest question. Well, some people here, they are not sure. I'm telling you. Okay. All of us, right? But do you know that we only arrive to heaven? Let me put this word arrive. It's not a very good word, but you have to excuse my poor English. We only go to heaven or arrive to heaven when we are saints. Do you know that? Yes. I'm not talking about canonized saints. I am talking about sanctity. It's a different thing. Indeed, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Vatican Council II, right? And one of the greatest challenges of this council to the Church was sanctity is for everybody. It's the universal call to sanctity. Chapter 5 of Lumen Gentium, the document about the Church, right? Sanctity is for all. It's not a privilege for a few, for priests and nuns. No. The Church was telling us sanctity is for all of us. In my opinion, when I was, John Paul II, May 13, 2000. Do you know what he was doing in Fatima, May 13, 2000? He was beatifying Francisco and Jacinta. When he was doing the homily, in one point, he was always talking to the crowd. More than, I don't know, 500,000 of people was in Fatima on that day. But the stairs of the basilica were covered with children. Young children from Fatima and also from Portugal. So at one moment in his homily, and you can check that in the website, which is very beautiful words, he was talking to the children and he said this: ask your parents and teachers to enroll you in the School of Mary. I have to tell you that we learn much more in a shorter time under the guidance of Mary than with years and years with our own efforts without her. That's how the little children of Fatima, the shepherd children, became saints so quickly. Ask your parents and teachers to enroll you in the School of Mary. That's how the little shepherd children, Francisco and Jacinta, became saints so quickly. So what is the message of Fatima for our Pope John Paul II? Is a school of sanctity. So if we think that to become saint is very difficult, I used to think that too. Let's go to Mary, to the Blessed Mother, and to her school here in Fatima. And she will teach us, the way she did to Blessed Francisco and Jacinta, how to become saints so quickly. So my talk here is, which are the most important lessons of the message of Fatima, so it can be called by the popes a school of faith and a school of sanctity. Is this a good question for you? It's fair enough, isn't it? So, which are the main lessons? Let's start. Are you okay? Are you not sleeping? No, not at all. Yeah, me neither. Because there are so many things and so many aspects. You know that a couple of weeks ago, in June, I gave the Sanctuary of Fatima organized a 3 days course on the message of Fatima, 7 talks. I gave the 7 talks, and in the end, about Fatima, only about Fatima, 7 talks with 1 hour each. And in the end, I was saying, I did not say everything. I'm still missing something. So can you imagine putting those 7 talks in 1 hour here? It's just impossible. I'm not saying, so I'm just doing a summary. Most important lesson of Fatima. What Fatima brings and puts again in the center of our lives? God. The most holy Trinity. Indeed, before the Blessed Mother came the angel, and the angel spoke about God constantly. As a matter of fact, 5 new prayers are teach in Fatima. Okay, we learn 5 new prayers in Fatima. All of them are to God, or to the Most Holy Trinity, or to Jesus. Not a single prayer is directed only to Mary. All the prayers, the new prayers, my God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love God. Most Holy Trinity, I adore you profoundly. God. Oh my Jesus, it's for the love of thee, for the conversion of sinners. Jesus. That prayer that Lucia, that Our Lady taught to the children when they were going to make sacrifices. Oh my Jesus, is for the love of thee, for the conversion of sinners. Jesus again. And that prayer of the little shepherds in front of the Blessed Mother in May, with that light, most Holy Trinity, I adore you. My God, my God. So all the new 5 prayers are to God. And in the last apparition of the angel, what did he bring to the children? The Holy Communion. Jesus in the Eucharist. So Fatima begins with the most Holy Trinity and the Eucharist. And also Fatima ends in the vision of Tui, just with Sister Lucia. She saw the most Holy Trinity. The Father, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus in the cross. And under the right arm of the cross was Mary, the Blessed Mother, but also a chalice and a host. So Fatima begins with God and the Eucharist and ends with God and the Eucharist. And everything that is in Fatima is about this: put God again in the center of our spiritual life, of our life. And we can see that in the life of the shepherd children, especially Francisco. Since the angel's apparition, he realized that God was sad with so many sins of the world, of that hate that put people away from God. And Francisco, knowing about the words of the angel, take and drink, eat and drink the body and the blood of Jesus Christ, so much outraged by the sins. Make reparation for their crimes and console your God. These words of the angel, console your God, were the summary of the spiritual life of Francisco. He spent his little life just trying to console God. Indeed, one day somebody asked him, Lucia, Francisco, what did you like to see the most? And he said, I like to see the angel. But I liked even more to see the Blessed Mother. But what I truly liked was to see Jesus in that light that the Blessed Mother put us in our chest. Oh, I loved God so much. See how the hierarchy of the truths were very clear in the little mind of Francisco? I like to see the angel, but more the Blessed Mother. But what I truly liked to see the most was God. I love God so much. So to love God and to console God was the center of our spiritual life. And this is a call for us. God is the center of our life. Is God the one from whom we make the priorities of our life, of the choose the paths we take in our lives? Do we ask God what does He want from us? At least once in a while. So the little shepherd children were doing that constantly. And the last request of the Blessed Mother in 1917 in Cavaleria in October was this one: do not offend Jesus anymore, because He is so much already offended. So this centrality of God's love in our life, this is the main aspect, one of the most important aspects of all the message of Fatima. Also, little Francisco, I remember one day, and I know you will excuse me if I speak about through Fatima, through the eyes of these 2 shepherd children, because they help us a lot how to understand Fatima. One day, Jacinta, little Lucia came to Francisco and asked him, Francisco, when you arrive to heaven, you please ask for this intention and for that intention and for the other intention. So Lucia made a list of intentions to little Francisco to ask God when he was arriving home, God. And he said, please, Lucia, those requests, you ask them to Jacinta, because I am afraid when I arrive to heaven, I forget them. Because when I see Jesus, I'm afraid that I only would like to console Him. So this was like his vocation on this earth, but also in eternity. This we learn from Francisco. This completely centered in God. The second aspect of the message of Fatima definitely is the love for the Eucharist. And the love of the Eucharist of these three chapel children had three aspects that I'd like to share with you. First of all, the Eucharistic as a mystery that we celebrated, so the Mass, okay? The Holy Mass. Holy Mass, you say that? Okay, one day, it was like a weekday, Jacinta was already very sick. And she said to Lucia, I'm going to Mass. And Lucia said, come on, Jacinta, you don't need to go. Because first, it's not a Sunday. And second, you are so sick. Why don't you stay at home and rest? And she said, Lucia, I'm going for the poor sinners that don't go to Mass even on Sundays. So she was offering up because they gave a lot of importance to the sacrifice of the Mass. A second aspect of this love of the shepherd children towards the Eucharist is for adoration, Eucharistic adoration. They used to spend hours in front of the hidden Jesus, like the way they used to call Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. Do you know when they started and why they started to call Jesus in the Eucharist the hidden Jesus? Do you know why? No. Do you want me to tell? Yes. Because I know. I can share with you. Okay, before the apparitions, this little aspect or this little joke happened before the apparitions, that it was the feast of Corpus Christi, and in Fatima there is always a procession. And it was a tradition that the youngest children, girls, they used to be dressed as angels with flowers to throw to Jesus when the priest was in procession with the monstrance, okay? So in that day was Jacinta's day and Lucia's day to be dressed as angels. And Jacinta, she was so excited that she could not even sleep. Because somebody told her, Jacinta, you will throw, the flowers to Jesus. When you see Jesus, you throw him flowers. She was so excited that she couldn't sleep. So very early in the morning, she was dressed as angel and Lucia too. And there were positions that were already signalized. So they, in the specific moments, they would send flowers. And Lucia says, here we are, so excited. In the procession, the priest behind us with the monstrance, and we are walking with the procession, and in the moments that there were people telling us to do it, Lucia says, I would throw in flowers, but Jacinta, she was looking to the priest, she was looking at me, she was doing like this, and she did not throw any flowers, all the procession. And in the end, Lucia was, Jacinta, why didn't you throw flowers to Jesus? She says, because you told me that I would do it when I saw Jesus. And I didn't see him. And Lucia was... And then Jacinta asked Lucia, and did you saw him? because you threw flowers. She said, Jacinta, don't you see that Jesus, he is in the host? That we cannot see him, that he is hidden in the host. So they start to call Jesus in the Eucharist the hidden Jesus. That's how it comes, and it's like a Fatima vocabulary. To call Jesus in the Eucharist the hidden Jesus comes from this little joke of little Jacinta. They used to spend many, many hours. Francisco and Jacinta, both of them. Francisco more in the parish here in Fatima. Jacinta probably more in Lisbon, where she was a couple of days before she joined the hospital where she died. She was in this house where she could be very close to the tabernacle. She used to do adoration many, many hours.